Kingdom greetings and God's richest blessings be multiplied to you and yours, beloved family. You're tuned into another segment of Healing Our Land's live interactive worldwide broadcast exclusively here on the Boston Praise Radio and TV Network. I'm your host, Pastor Hobbs. I'll be with you through till 6 p.m. We had the privilege of broadcasting Tuesday through Fridays, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., Sunday evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Please visit our webpage, www.healingourlandinc.org, to learn more of the ministry and the vision and how you can help us to bring it to full fruition. And also go to www.bostonpraiseradio.tv. That's the platform where you can see us, you can hear us, and engage in the instant chat. You can call us live on the air at 617-282-0685 or 617-282-7794. Again, 617-282-0685 or 617-282-7794. You can write us at 670 Washington Street, Dorchester, Mass. 02124. I'm live here in the studio with my special guest, Juwan Skeens, and he is running for at-large city councilor here in the city of Boston. Welcome, sir. How are you today?
What's going on, neighbors? Good evening. Good evening. I am doing well. How you doing, Pastor Hobbs?
I'm outstanding.
Good. Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I'm so happy for the opportunity. We know that you were endeavoring to be on my big sister's broadcast, Minister Flint, who does People Power. She's also an associate minister here at Global Ministries Christian Church and a supporter of the Boston Praise Radio and TV Network. So we are a family.
Yes.
So I'm grateful that I have the privilege and opportunity as the election is happening on Tuesday.
Yes.
However, the position that you're running for at large city councilor, there is no primary for.
Yeah.
So you guys will all, how many, I think 8?
Yeah, there's going to be 8 other candidates aside from myself.
So there's 8 candidates running for ultimately 4 positions.
Yeah.
So at the final election, it'll be whittled down to who are the 4 at-large city councilors.
Yes.
And we talked offline, and I want to have that conversation online. But what made you decide to run? Because here we are, this is 2 days, we're a few days away from the primary, and it's already a full field. And so for you to be on, you have to do a sticker campaign. And so talk about the campaign you're doing and why did you decide to throw your hat in the ring?
Yeah, no, thank you. And thank you to Priscilla Flint for the, connection. I always want to be grateful for the people who invite me into the space. But long story short, what made me decide to run was COVID-19. That was the biggest thing for me. I saw the impact that it had on our community, our businesses surrounding healthcare, education, employment, housing, displacement, and the list goes on. One thing that that I was doing with one of our neighborhood associations was I was able to be a COVID community educator, educating our families of Dorchester of how to navigate through the pandemic and stay safe. Even beyond that, during the COVID-19 pandemic, I went out with a petition with myself and my neighbors to establish a community-led life skills training and wellness center inside of our community in response to COVID-19, because we need a space to educate each other on how to navigate through, not just this pandemic, but any other future pandemic. Build generational wealth and wellness for years to come. So basically, I have an outside the box mindset, and I want to make sure I can bring that to the Boston City Council.
Outstanding. So tell us, who is Juwan Skeens? Tell us a little bit about your story, where you were brought up, just a little bit about who are you, that we can get acquainted with Juwan Skeens.
So who is Juwan Skeens? So I am 29 years old. I was born and raised here inside the city of Boston, specifically Dorchester. I am a community organizer with Redefine Our Community Neighborhood Association in Dorchester, which is a nonprofit that was founded after the passing of Stephen Odom, who only lived a few houses down from me. We grew up as neighbors. His parents, of course, Ron and Kim Odom. I attend their True Vine church every Sunday.
Nice.
Definitely Redefining Our Community, ROC is the abbreviation, was founded In 2009, after Stephen passed in 2007, we've been connecting our community to city, state, and federal resources to help resolve our concerns. While, inside of my community, I, then was getting a knock at my front door was Andrea Campbell. And basically she was running for Boston City Council of District 4 back then. I volunteered on her campaign, and then she was able to become the Boston City Councilor. I was with her throughout that transition of her entry phases. For the first 2.5 years, I was managing about 22 civic associations from Dorchester, Roxbury, that touched Dorchester, Roxbury, and Mattapan, along the Blue Hill Avenue line. And basically, a little bit more about me. I went to the Joseph Lee School, Timilty Middle School, South Boston Excel High School. I am also the affiliate board member to the Common Square Neighborhood Council. I am the director of the community-led life skills training and wellness center that's coming to 872 Morton Street, hopefully this October, once they finish construction.
Let's talk a little bit more about this wellness center.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the wellness center, the vision, where its status, where it is currently.
Yeah. So the Life Skills Training and Wellness Center, it was founded through a petition, and it was in response to COVID-19, and what happened as far as the effects it had on our community. The community came together. It was myself, Redefine Our Community Neighborhood Association under their leadership. And we partnered with, our neighborhood associations. I want to say about 14 neighborhood associations to join in to get over 900 signatures that we gathered together in order to establish a life skills training and wellness center in conjunction with the housing development that's going to be coming with about 40 units, 12 affordable home ownership, and 28 rentals.
Outstanding. I'm really familiar with very dear friends of Healing Our Land, Boston Praise Radio and TV Network, and Global Ministries Christian Church, the parent body of these respective entities, with Pastor Ron and Kim Oldham. In fact, they had a broadcast right here on our station.
Yeah.
So we love the Oldhams, and so pleased to hear that you are worshiping with them and under their pastoral leadership, and that you have your hat in the ring. I'm familiar with Rock, Redefining Our Community, and what they are doing in the community. So happy to hear your involvement in that. Talk a little bit about your position, as we've got, again, I heard you talk offline about some of the reason why you want to run that. I didn't necessarily hear you say in this context. So you talked about some of what you've done and so forth, but there's a lot of division within the city council right now. It seems very polarized. In fact, that I don't know what the reasons. Robert Flaherty, who's been a long time standing at-large councilor, deciding not to run. Frank Baker, who's District 3, that has 7 people running for that particular seat, that I actually sit in District 3, and the House of Correction that I'm a strong advocate for the returning citizens there is also located in D3, as well as the notorious Mass and Cass, or Methadone Mile. I call it Miracle Mile, right? So that is another issue that's housed right there. Yeah. So District 3 and certainly the at-large councilors cover the entire city. So all 4 at-large city councilors, as well as District 3 in particular, have to come up with a strategy with our mayor and with our governor, to be able to address what's going on over there.
No, absolutely. And I'm definitely one that's going to, be a unifier. That's something that I just have a track record of doing. When I was in high school, I was the senior class president of my student body. And I was a junior varsity debate league champion for the Boston Debate League. And basically, as senior class president, I had one goal, which was to make sure that myself and my student body was able to graduate on time. One way that I was able to do that was by implementing a tardy buyback program where for every 3 times a student came on time, 1 tardy got knocked off, and that increased the rates towards graduation about 20%. Now, that was a pilot in high school. Boston Public Schools is a very diverse system. Okay, now fast forward to my work that I was doing with under Boston City Council President Andre Campbell then for District 4. I was, outside of my work being a civic organizer, a neighborhood liaison for her office and managing about, I want to say 20 civic associations every month, connecting our neighbors to city, state, federal resources. I was also a part of the zoning board, approving and opposing, delaying any housing development projects as needed for our community. I even had the opportunity to work with the offices of at-large Ayanna Presley, at-large Boston City Councilors Ayanna Presley, because she's Congresswoman now, then at-large Ayanna Presley, Anissa Sabi George, Michelle Wu, as well as under the leadership of Andre Campbell, I was able to implement a Boston Youth Expo, where for the first time the City Council came together to basically put together, a youth resource fair for the kids, and that was intentional that it was held at the Talbot Ave Boys and Girls Club, because I went to the Joseph Lee School. I utilized the Talbot Ave Boys and Girls Club often when I was growing up for after school programming. So I wanted to make sure I'm bringing those resources back to the community. So that was grateful that I had a chance to lead that. That was working with diverse populations. Now, as a community organizer for Redefine Our Community, we serve about 17 streets within our catchment area. That's about, over, hundreds of houses within that area, that, diverse populations. I am, as the affiliate board member to Common Square Neighborhood Council, responding to those businesses and making sure that we're bringing in more healthier food options for our community. That's something that I, want to keep fighting for. So I just have no barriers to who I'm willing to help. And I'm willing to unify this council any way that I can, because I believe that teamwork makes the dream work. I put it in my saying all the time. So I look forward to doing that work for our community.
So with that said, conceptually, I understand unifying. The city council is more diverse than it's ever been.
Yes.
It used to be people of color were the minority.
Yeah.
Now the people of color are the majority.
Yeah.
Women, people of color. So it's diverse, and that's progress.
Yeah.
With that comes challenge.
Yes.
So here we have 4 city councils who are European, right, who are advocating for metal detectors within our schools.
Yeah.
There's another population that is saying defund the police, more social workers, more mental health, and that's their posture. So that there's a polarization. So, and what would be your strategy as an at-large to facilitate cohesiveness of that? What is your position with regard to schools having metal detectors, with them having resource officers in place, with them having mental health counselors and social workers? Is it a piece of it? Is it all of that?
No, thank you for the question. So as at-large Boston City Councilor, you're going to see 4 focuses. You're going to see my focus on 4 main areas. So you're going to be looking at public safety. You're going to be looking at education, affordable housing, as well as small business development. How do I feel about police in schools? So obviously, we know we have to keep our kids safe by any means necessary. With the guns that are coming into our community, we need I have a multi-layer approach that we're going to take. So first, starting with school police. Depending on how many floors are within the building, I would say put at least 1 officer on each floor. If you need a supervisor locked in, into the room with, access to a gun, let that be accessible with the supervisor. But that the other officers who are just walking around on each floor can have some type of taser or maybe rubber bullets. So that way we're not, affecting our community or harming the kids. Another thing, when it comes to metal detectors, I want to make sure that we're keeping our kids safe, and I understand the need, making sure that there are no guns in school. If there's a way that we can. So here's the thing. We have to work with the surrounding towns as well. It's not just Massachusetts, because Massachusetts has strict gun laws. But then you have the states that surround us that, may not have strict gun laws. So they allow the guns to flow into Massachusetts. We need to all get on the same page so that way it's not flowing over into each of our neighborhoods. How do we stop the kids from shooting and accessing guns? We need to build more after-school programs. That's why we established the Life Skills Training and Wellness Center, because we need more safe spaces for these kids, more job access for these kids, so that they're more focused on enrichment programming as opposed to, what the streets can do for me. You know what I mean? Sure. So for me, it's just like, I just want to be a big advocate for making sure our kids have access to quality programming. Because when I was growing up in Boston Public School, I was in the junior varsity debate team. I was part of the chorus inside of school. I went to church, Christ Temple Church of Personal Experience in Roxbury. So I utilize all of these resources around me that I don't think these kids have access to. So we just need to make sure that we're funding programs that are doing well with child retention, and not just, letting the money flow everywhere across the city.
And while I appreciate that, I really still need to push you with regard to your posture, specifically as it relates to advocating, because as it relates to particularly metal detectors, right? You said your position with regard to school resource officers. You talked about programming that we need to have outside of school to prevent the mindset of people, and I agree with you with all of that. With that said, there's still right now the public safety. You can't even educate until you feel safe. And so, I just want to hear your posture specifically with regard to metal detectors, because there are people who have the mindset that we're traumatizing our kids by them going through metal detectors. They're being more traumatized, I think, by having to go to school with guns or be afraid to get somebody shoot them, or mass shooting come in. So let me just say one more piece about that, because so as it relates to metal detectors, they are subjected to metal detectors if they go to Disneyland, if they go to City Hall, where you'll be serving. Any place you go,
standard
we go to stores. We're all subjected to metal detectors to be safe.
I know what you mean.
I mean, we don't like it. You go into the airport, you got to check out your belt, go through all these changes, but we want to be safe. So I'm a proponent personally, and this is just me, of us being safe.
I agree.
I don't think it traumatizes kids to be able to have metal detectors in school.
I agree with that. And definitely keeping our kids safe. And additionally, one thing I want to see the Boston police doing, as well as even including the state troopers, the FBI, I want us to all create a effective program. And where you ever heard of the GREAT program and the DARE program? So it's called Gang Resistance Education and Training. It was a program that was brought into Boston Public Schools, where the Boston police were educating our kids on just how to stay out of trouble. It was our first interaction with the police. And I feel like a lot of kids' first interaction is getting in trouble right now. If it was a different approach where it's like you understand who the officers are, and if they could have an educational component of how they can keep you out of trouble, I think we can change the quota for the police. Instead of saying how many violations can I give out, how many kids can you keep out of trouble? How many kids can we really keep safe? So it can be a different approach. We just have to think outside the box.
I agree with you. With regard to school, right? So we talked about public safety. Another big question as it relates to our schools is the structure. Should it be elected Should it be appointed?
Yeah.
We're the only city in the entire Commonwealth
Yeah.
that does not have a fully elected school committee.
Yeah.
And it has been a referendum. They've asked the people in the city, what do you want? Overwhelmingly, people have said, we want a fully elected school committee.
I agree with that.
Our mayor has been emphatic in her campaigning that she wants a hybrid. She has been consistent even in her position as being the mayor with the superintendent, in spite of the overwhelming response of the community who elected her to say, nope, I'm going to go this way, hybrid. And now the city council, quite candidly, really doesn't have a lot of power over her decision. The way the structure stands, the city council's major power is in passing her budget. So what is your position with regard to an elected school committee, a hybrid, what she wants to do, or an appointed committee, which is where it stands now?
So just so everybody knows the difference, you know, between appointed and elected. So appointed is, they work at the, direction of the mayor.
That's right.
Elected is they work at the direction of the people.
That's right.
I'm people driven. The people said that they wanted an elected school committee. So an elected school committee is what the Skeens for Boston campaign will fight for.
Absolutely.
I mean, as far as, I mean, obviously we're going to have difference of opinion,
of course,
no doubt about it. But my thing is, we need to make sure that the people are fighting for what they need, and that they're educated along the way, because some people don't know how to get into the process to fight for the things that they need. So it's definitely going to be a big piece on education for our community, but advocating for what we need every step of the way.
In that same vein of advocating for what we need, particularly we as people of color, particularly poor people who are being gentrified out of the city. Unfortunately, it's being rebuilt for people who have money. So it's a class thing that supersedes and disproportionately impacts race.
Right.
So and so that's a big issue. Housing. And programming. And so people who are here. So let's go specifically with the school in that same vein. So again, now I believe it's the Madison Park School.
That they're trying to move.
My understanding. First I heard of it was a press conference with the mayor. I didn't hear of any community meeting. We're having a press conference. We're moving it. People are like, what? What you mean you're moving it? And I talked to graduates who were like, oh no, we can't do that. They fought for that school. It's a unique school. There's a whole alumni that's really active about protecting that school's full vision coming to fruition, where it's placed for our people. And so people see the Madison Park, they see Roxbury Community College that was in danger of receivership. They see the Reggie Lewis Center, right? These places that were built in our community for our community that hasn't fully manifested its impact on our community, that now they're looking to snatch to be able to move or use for people that's not our community.
I oppose moving Madison. Long story short, and my thing is, we just closed Timothy Middle School just over the hill. And that was the school that I graduated from. So it's like, now you removed my history, I have an issue with definitely what's been going on inside the city in regards to the lack of investment on Boston Public Schools. And that's something I want to fight for. Even, I want to make sure with charter schools that the child retention rates are doing well for our schools. I need to make sure that we're funding these institutions that are doing well with our black and brown community. And we just can't let it continue to fall by the wayside anymore. We just have to be more proactive in how we're responding to these issues.
In that vein of being proactive, Massachusetts is more fiscally sound than it's been in a very long time. The city and the state is doing well fiscally, right? We got AFRA money, recovery from COVID, infrastructure money.
And our reserves, we're doing well.
Right, so we got plenty of money. Money's not the issue.
It's where's it going?
How are we going to use that money? We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to be efficient with those resources as seed money for things that will be economic engines that will be able to sustain post this money being exhausted. We can't just waste this money.
Right.
So with that said, particularly with the this being the educational mecca of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say that again.
Yeah.
Massachusetts is the educational mecca
of the world. Yeah,
People come from all over the world for higher institutions of learning. Harvard, right? All these institutions that don't pay taxes.
Yeah.
There's things that's payment in lieu of taxes. And nobody's making sure that they're doing a payment in lieu of taxes.
Right.
But these people come from all over the world. Their interest off these endowments of Harvard could fund every underperforming public school in the city of Boston to be upstandard and have connection with these institutions.
I agree
that there's a pipeline from the public school to the institutions of higher learning.
And that's one of the things that I was looking at, when Massachusetts I guess they implemented a free community college for everybody, which is not bad at all. We apply that. That's a great step in the right direction. But my thing is, why aren't we adding Ivy League institutions, colleges, and universities into this conversation? I feel like we need to be pushing more because our kids deserve the best education and the best resources. I'm advocating, in reparation spaces. You see me at reparation hearing. I want to make sure that, we're being here. I want to make sure you're hearing our voice. You know what we stand and the things that we want to advocate for. I'm at the cannabis hearings, testifying there, making sure that the tax dollars that they said that was going to be used for education and transportation, okay, well, you need to be funding some child care vouchers for some of our black and brown families that you put in the disproportionately impacted areas. We need to invest in child care vouchers. We need to be investing in nonprofits. We need to be investing into I don't know why it's escaping me. Hold on, one second. But basically, I'm saying, we need to even look into record expungements for our brothers and sisters who are locked up. So it's just really just showing up in spaces and advocating for the different things that we need to see in our community, because if they don't hear it, and I say, if they don't hear it, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. And I tell people that all the time. And it's like, you need to advocate for the things that you want to see inside of your community. So we just have a lot of work to do inside of these city departments, state departments, and just speaking up about the things we need.
Let me ask you, with regard to that, you mentioned returning citizens and expungements, and Healing Our Land has a high focus and priority on empowering our returning citizens. So we serve as a volunteer chaplain at the Nashua County Jail, the Suffolk County House of Correction. We have advocated for the $2.6 million budget that the Office of Returning Citizens, the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens, now have. Didn't have a budget, now it does. $1 million of those dollars went to grants for organizations that partner with them. We were one of the recipients, and we're doing mentorship. So we're doing people who are behind the wall, we're ministering to, who are writing us and able to send them a little love in their canteen, that they can get toiletries and a little couple treats, and just know that somebody cares about you, somebody's thinking about you, who you don't even know. And so, and they're appreciating that, and I'm grateful for Eric and his relationship from being behind the wall to continue the relationship with those folks who are reaching out to other people who are indigent, who are dealing with mental illness, who don't have nobody to support them. Those are the people whom we are happy and proud to walk with while they're there and help them meet them at the door, and their families who are out, who are saying, I need help, I need support. While my family, loved ones there, I need to come to church, I need to get right, I need this, I need housing, I need food, I need various practical things. So our organization, in partnership with the Office of Returning Citizens, and as we build infrastructure to get more grants and more support from the community, we have a vision ultimately to train returning citizens to make a living wage with people like T. Michael from the People's Academy. You familiar with him?
T. Michael Thomas.
So he's got the People's Academy with that unique niche of coppersmith, right? So him and Reverend Hutchinson, who has a pre-apprenticeship training program at Greater Love Tabernacle with Bishop Dickerson. Right? So these are two programs that are run by folks who are very cognizant of returning citizens to make this skill set, to get this skill set, they can make a living wage. And I tell them to go work at McDonald's or go work some places they're not going to work and make the money that they would make if they were doing something illegally.
Effective wages,
Effective wage, a living wage. So this whole pipeline for people to be able to participate in the building boom or the gentrification that's happening without us. Why not train returning citizens? 700,000 folks are coming out. This is a whole workforce. We need people who are electricians and plumbers. Everybody's not going to go to school for education, for college.
Everyone's not going to go to college.
But they're entrepreneurs, they're business folks, they're innovative. So take that skill set and be able to walk with these individuals in a different path that's going to have them be homeowners. Right? We saw this $8 to $247,000 for white folks versus black folks that had everything to do with land, property, intergenerational wealth. So this is what we're talking about with returning citizens, to be a whole movement that's going to lead in being able to show folks how we can acquire intergenerational wealth.
100%.
How we can do restorative justice practices that people are doing behind the wall, that where the real healing happens, where the perpetrators talk with the victims and say, I forgive you. Like how transformational that is. We're hearing this from returning citizens. Restorative justice circles work. It's key. People like Pastor Oderman, they know.
They know.
Firsthand, when it's your son, when it's your child, for you to say, I forgive in spite of your pain, how powerful that work is with Tina Cherry and these kind of folks that are doing this work. But we need to build capacity for that to be the norm. That we're all doing restorative justice practices, circle keepers, and those kind of things. So this is some of the vision of healing our land, and we have a very specific initiative to make sure that returning citizens can exercise their right to vote. As you may or may not know, in 2000 it was stripped from them in Massachusetts. You could vote while serving a felony conviction. Now they took that from them. Yes, you can vote if you serve time for a felony and you're on probation or parole. Know that. However, we want you to vote while you're behind the wall. You still should have the right to vote. You've taken your freedom from you. You should have the right to participate in your own rehabilitation. Who's going to be your sheriff? Who's going to be your DA? And so right now that's sitting in the constitutional amendment to be restored as a result of the work of the African American Coalition Committee. So do you support felony re-enfranchisement, that people behind the wall should have the right to vote even while serving a felony?
I absolutely. I feel like, people, I mean, here's the thing. I feel like while you are going through the process, you're not, fully booked yet or anything like that, you should still have the right to vote as long as it's within the election. You know what I mean?
Well, hear what you said. Because if you're waiting pre-trial or you're serving a misdemeanor, you can vote.
Okay.
So that's your point. But if you've been convicted of a felony and you're serving time for that felony, your right to vote has been stripped from you in Massachusetts. That's not the case in Maine. It's not the case in Vermont. And people in Maine and Vermont don't look like you or I who are incarcerated. So understand why they're taking that right from black and brown and poor folks, because the impact that they were having, the African American Coalition Committee was having impact behind the wall. And they wanted to shut that down, so they stripped them of their right, so they can't even advocate for what's going on in their own settings because you have no voice. And so that to me is wrong.
And they need to be able to speak up about the concerns that's going on inside the prisons as well, because I know it's not everything is all peachy clean over, you know what I mean? So it's like, I definitely understand that, there needs to be routes for them to have the people around them that's going to respect them, and you know what I mean, while they're there. And I definitely understand that.
You need to be it's not perpetual punishment. It should be about correction.
And it's a cash system. We know the prison system is all a cash profit system. You know what I mean? So it's just like we need to change the attention from the prison system back into education, because we're not funding education the way we're funding our prison system. So that's definitely something we'll follow up on.
Absolutely. So we also, in the vein of being able, here in the state of Massachusetts, they recently passed a Votes Act that makes sure that the city hall knows and that the sheriffs know that people under your custody and care who are waiting pre-trial, people who are serving misdemeanors, they can vote. And it's your responsibility to communicate to those in your custody and care they have the right to vote, give them the information to do the civic education to make an informed decision. 3, build the infrastructure that they can actually exercise the right you have. There's no absentee ballot applications stored in houses of correction. No mail-in voter application. So if you don't do like we do, go to the city hall, grab the documents, mobilize volunteers, get access to go inside, be escorted. Then it's not going to happen.
All those steps. Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is we're trying to do an implementation pilot.
Okay.
Right. A mobile ballot box initiative so that people inside the Suffolk County, where Sheriff Tompkins, the only sheriff of color in the entire Commonwealth, who has been a leader and allowing us to affording us access to come into his institution pre-COVID, during COVID, and at this stage of post-COVID. He's allowed us to come in and do education, bring in the candidates, to have them directly engage the candidates, unprecedented than any sheriff in the Commonwealth. With that said he would be willing. He understands the importance of everybody having the right to vote. He supports felons voting inside his institution. He supports them all being able to cast their own ballot in a box, just like you and I do, who's free. But he said he couldn't do it unless the Secretary of the State gets them permission. Now the law has been passed, and the Secretary of State we've said we've held him accountable to say, yes, it's legal. Yes, you can do it. So now we're doing this mobile ballot box initiative with him to implement people being able, for him to communicate electronically to the elections department, everyone eligible, so that the onus is not on the returning citizen to advocate, to say, I'm eligible, send me a form, just like you get a form sent to your house to be able to get a mail-in ballot or go to the place and cast your ballot. You have a choice.
No,
their home happens to be where they're incarcerated. So to their home should come an absentee ballot application with their name on it.
I agree with that.
And with the information of the candidate, and they cast it in their box up until 8 p.m. on election day.
I agree with
it's
that.
picked up by a municipal officer, driven to the elections department, just like every drop box and every other place is counted at election day. They at the Nashua County Jail, the Suffolk County House of Correction, would also have to 8 p.m. to cast their ballot. So that's the vision.
I like that idea.
And we're hopeful to make it come to fruition. So we have your support. And they're going to make that come to fruition. I got to tell you, Julia Mahia, she's been a champion. She helped us to get a drop box in the Nashua County Jail and the Suffolk County House of Correction. In their lobbies, they now have a drop box. Never happened before. So that's progress. But now, as it stands, it's up to the correctional officer or the case manager to take their ballot and drop it in the box. We don't know if that's going to happen, and quite candidly, it's progress, but it's not the goal. They should cast their ballot in a box with nobody else looking at it, interfering with it, having any feeling about it.
Just a simple drop box where no one has to transport anything but the elections department or whoever's assigned to it. I agree with that.
So that's the vision. And so Cook County, Eric and I just came from Chicago, and in Cook County, they're actually voting inside the jail, behind the jail, just like you and I go to our
I like that
It's a
idea.
precinct within, but they have so many people that they can justify it being a precinct. Washington, D.C.,
I like that idea.
They're casting their ballots behind the wall. So there's precedence. It's happening. And we want to make it happen here. So that's our desire, being Healing Our Land's mobile ballot box initiative pilot.
And of course, even, our current, voters need to be educated as well. We've been having low voter turnout. You know what I mean? So it's just like, no, everybody has to be educated on how to vote properly. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm with you 100%.
One of the things we're doing with Healing Our Land is we're also working with Northeastern University, Professor Denver, Professor soon-to-be Ballou, as well as with Harvard University with Dr. Cook and various people at Harvard and institutions there to create curriculum with their students about civic education, in a way that is maybe some incentive to get some credits for it from the institution, some good time for being able to take the initiative to understand civic education, that you then can become a peer leader. We can give you some maybe compensation to incentivize you to educate other folks since you're behind the wall. Because some folks are, that ain't for me, they ain't gonna do nothing. Or you need other people back to saying, no, my dude, this is something you need to do. And this is why, to have the influence. So that's the goal, is to be able to now. And we just saw in Chicago that they're actually doing it with DePaul University. The professors teaching the gentleman behind the wall, they're learning and feeling good about doing something productive and getting some credits from the institution and good time. And they're able to educate their peers, and they were able to zoom into this conference that was basically people from all over the world and talk about the things that we're doing to make sure that everybody has the right to vote and make an informed decision for those who are incarcerated. This is a huge population that people just don't think about. That somebody's brother, mother's son, husband, wife, that's family. They're citizens who are taken away from society. Many instances for things that they didn't even do. Many times they're exonerated. Double, joint venture. You were around the vicinity, so they snatched you up.
And they didn't have a jury of their peers either.
Or didn't have a jury of their peers. So there's a lot of injustice that happens. It happens if you got money, you can circumvent through all kind of loopholes. But if you don't, many people who serve time, significant time, and who've been exonerated because they know, in fact, they did not do it.
Right.
So it's not a perfect system. So the point is, whether they did it, whether they did not do it, they should be treated humanely.
Agreed.
And it should be an opportunity to rehabilitate.
Agreed. 100%. Yeah, we need effective reentry services across the board. I agree 100% with that. No, absolutely.
So we have, again, 4 at-large city councilors.
Yes.
Now, what makes you different? How do you feel with 8 candidates that are running for this? Why should we vote for Juwan Skeens?
Well, I mean, long story short, why should you vote for me? I'm going to be the candidate that you never knew you needed, but you always wanted.
I like that.
And I say that because it's like, I'm a candidate that thinks outside the box. Yes, I may be young, but I am ready to go after the issues that are affecting our community. And, even when I talk about public safety, one of the things that I was very big on throughout the pandemic was fighting for the Norfolk Street Bridge in our area. I wanted to make sure that I was able to track the progress of, our public safety issues in our community, and so the community can see exactly how, the city, the state would respond to these things. The Norfolk Street Bridge is still a work in progress. I'm still advocating to make sure that we're bringing in all the funding that we need to make our community, bring in those quality resources that we need for our community. So there's been people shot and harassed on the Norfolk Street Bridge, long story short. There's been graffiti that's been tagged, and I'm not saying graffiti is a bad thing. It just needs a mural or something where it can, be tagged and properly, where they can give the artists the respect that they deserve. Sure. So for me, and even with the bridge, it's a metal barrier that's on the bridge where a lot of people, they feel intimidated to walk on the sidewalk because the metal barrier is too high, so they'll walk in the street to make sure somebody can see them as they're walking by. So this bridge was built in large part without community approval. The community came together. We had a night walk on the bridge. We started a petition, with our elected officials, and basically the response hasn't been everything that we wanted it to be. So, after, talking about it for so long and advocating for so many changes, you just get inspired to want to change it yourself. You know what I mean? So that I'm someone who can, identify an issue inside the community. Mm-hmm. I can, follow it through all the way through, to the end. I can, bring in, some great resources along the way that's going to improve our overall, way of life. And I feel like our community just needs somebody who's going to bring us together, think outside the box. So with public safety, and I'm going to try to run down the list because normally when I try to talk a lot, so I try to break it down. So with roads and bridges, so just like the Norfolk Street Bridge and advocating for the Norfolk Street Bridge, I want to make sure that we're solving for every bridge across this city, making sure that we're bringing in, all the best, equipment, material, so that these bridges are always sustaining. And the Norfolk Street Bridge also, it's not compliant for people with ADA accessibility. They just knocked down the Ballou Bridge, so they're forcing people to walk down Willowwood Street, or I believe that's oh my God, why is that street escaping me? Willowwood Street, or The street, Woodrow Avenue. You have to walk down those areas, Willowwood Street or Woodrow Avenue off of Norfolk Street in order to get on to the opposite direction. So it's a very far distance, almost a mile apart. And it doesn't work for people with ADA accessibility. So that's something that we need to be focusing on inside of every community across the city. Speed humps and bike lanes. I'm glad to see that they pushed American Legion bike lanes a little bit further to the side to allow more cars. I felt like it was creating a lot of traffic. I want to see things that make sense for our community. Bike lanes definitely are needed in our community to make sure cars and bikes aren't colliding with each other, as well as buses as well. So I definitely want to make sure that we're being effective and intentional with how we're implementing these things. I even with the Slow Streets program inside of our community, for Redefine Our Community Neighborhood Association, we got speed humps and slow down measures for our community. So I want to make sure that we apply those type of methods to just slow down cars from hitting not just pedestrians but our animals in the street as well, because there's cats and dogs that are running around. So then you have we already touched on community and school policing, but for the most part we want to make sure that BPD is educating our kids along the way with that Great and Dare program, whether it be gang resistance education and programming or the substance abuse with the Dare program. They can play a part in changing the trajectory. Sorry, oh my God. All good. Yeah, I know. They can play a huge part in changing that inside of our community. And then I want community mental health providers with Boston Police Department as well. I know some of their calls are mental health related. Yep. So making sure that we're working with BPD as well as our EMS, just all public safety departments to make sure that we're creating an effective community health response overall. And then with gun control, violence and gun control, I want to make sure that everyone is aware of firearm safety courses. If you're over the age of 21, I want to make sure that you're using these weapons properly. If you're, I guess, over the age of 18 after you graduate high school, I feel like that's a better age to educate. But I want to make sure that we're banning assault rifles inside of our community, any gun attachments. I want to make sure we're doing thorough background checks for the people who are providing these guns. And even, I know that since guns are very accessible, we need to revisit increasing the price of the bullets. So you may have a gun, but maybe you can't shoot it because you can't afford these bullets. So that's just a different approach that I'm starting to think about, ways that we can keep our community safe. Then you have, and of course, working with surrounding states and towns, making sure we all have strict gun control laws across the board. Environmental issues is a public safety concern for me. We need to make sure that we're, investing in cleaner energy with renewable energy, solar panels and things along that nature. We're building all these buildings. There's not enough green space around them, and we need to make sure that we're cooling down this entire city, so we're not, going to end up in the water or anything like that. Then, planting more trees is going to be important. Fully electric trains and buses. And then, for home and business, renewable energy, solar panels and all that good stuff. We already touched on Corey-friendly restorative justice and reentry services. I agree with you wholeheartedly that we need to bring in better services inside of these spaces. And healthcare for all. We all need health care. You should not have to worry about your insurance anytime you have to go to the hospital for care. And that goes even for the, I guess we're bringing the people who are coming into our community as well as a sanctuary city. We have neighbors coming into our community. I want to make sure that, you know, they're going through the proper channels to become a citizen, to make sure that we're getting these resources to them as well. Because I want to make sure everybody has access to quality care across the board. That goes for seniors, veterans, as well as our people with disabilities, because we also see how that population was affected inside the COVID-19 pandemic as well. Education. Child care vouchers is going to be essential. Making sure that we're able to, you know, care for the kids before they start elementary school, making sure that the parents can focus on the job and that their after school programs have enough funding to take care of their kids. Boston Public School and charter schools. Each school is going to become a level 1 school under my leadership. We're going to be searching for ways to get new textbooks, and I testified at the hearing for the Cannabis Commission saying I would like the tax dollars for education and transportation. Some of that can be used to give us new textbooks inside of our Boston Public Schools. So I wanted to make sure we're advocating for that. Better breakfast, making sure even that the funding could be used for better breakfast and lunching, feeding the kids who are unable to get food inside of our schools because of some payment, you know, that they have to pay, you know, at lunchtime. So I want to make sure that even if we're not, we need to be more creative with the funding that we're using inside the city and state. And these are different ways that I feel like we can be approaching. So, and even inside of schools, I want to make sure there are no free periods. All of that's going to be substituted with more enrichment programming revolving around addressing mental health, financial literacy, bullying, sexual education, music, STEM including for our seniors as well. Physical education, because we hear our kids are becoming more obese inside of our schools, inside of the city, I would say. Intergenerational cultural history is something that's very important to me. I feel like we all need to understand how to respect each other a little bit more in the cultures. We all we're very diverse. We need to know how to celebrate each other and talk to each other respectfully.
Well, that's it. So there's a lot of controversy around the notion of critical race theory.
Yeah.
You know, educating about the truth of the history of African Americans. That's our history as Americans.
Yeah.
Is, you know, so are you a proponent of this? Some people, we're going to offend people if we talk about the truth of, you know, how horrific slavery was. Yeah. So are you a proponent that though it's painful and it's daunting, it's a difficult conversation that we've got to confront and work through?
Civic education, and it needs to be brought in. Reparations need to be part of the conversation. I'm testifying at these spaces because these are essential spaces where our community were impacted, you know, like, and especially when it comes to just we need to educate our community so we're not repeating cycles. That's the goal. It's like you need to know who you are, so that way you're not, you know, following somebody else. You need to stand in who you are, love who you are, so that way you're not, you know, motivated by TV or these celebrities on social media
influencers.
Yeah.
So with 4 minutes left, tell me, one, because you're doing a sticker campaign.
Yeah.
Right. So tell our listening and viewing audience how they can support you in your campaign to ultimately win this seat, in that there's some specific things people will need to do to support you in your campaign.
Well, the first things first, and thank you. The first things first, please go to skeensforboston.com, my website, donate to the campaign. We need as much funding as we possibly can in order to make sure that we're getting our name inside of billboards and newspapers, to get the word out about our campaign, and even get yard signs to make sure we spread the message across everybody's inside the city of Boston. The next thing is on November 7th, there may be early voting leading up to November 7th, but November 7th is the day of the election. I need everybody to just write my name in, Juwan Skeens. inside of the at-large Boston City Council write-in box to make sure that we win the election together. If you need any more information, call me at 857-453-4223. But again, reach out to me at my website, skeens4boston.com. I'll be happy to connect with you.
Again, thank you, Juwan Skeens, for your candidacy. We appreciate your being a young black man who has said, I want to be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
It's easy to complain. It's easy to say what's not going right. And a lot of folks doing plenty of that who don't even vote.
Right.
So, one, we need to exercise our right to vote.
Right.
We need to increase the activity of us as black people because our record is atrocious of us not voting in Boston across the country. So we got to change that. It's up to us. People say Black Lives Matters, and they do. Yeah. But Black votes matter.
Yeah.
So we got to show up.
If you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
I love it. So thank you, one, for your leadership and your desire, because it's not easy to run a campaign.
No.
It's more difficult to run a sticker campaign.
Yes.
So we applaud your effort, your intent, your desire
to
make a difference. And, God bless you, brother.
Thank you.
And thank you for your time here on Boston Praise Radio. ONT, we're never humbled to connect with you, give our best to Pastor Odom.
Thank you.
As well as I know some of the folks from Christ Temple, or some of your history in your journey excites me personally as a black man who has interacted with some of those institutions over time. And so that tells me a little bit of who you are and why you're doing what you do. And for such a time as this, we need people on our city council that are going to be people who are hearing from God how to really serve our community in a way that brings his kingdom into this earth realm. And so we salute you, brother. We thank you, our listening and viewing audience, for your time as always. And Healing Our Land's broadcast is Tuesday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., as well as Sunday evening, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Pray for us as we're in a tremendous growth season. Go to our webpage, www.healingourlandinc.org. If God said the same, pray for me as I'll be traveling tomorrow with State Representative Russell Holmes to MCI Norfolk with the African American Coalition Committee as my first time as an approved volunteer on their advisory board. So God has answered the prayer. Thank you all for your prayers that made that happen. Everybody who did your part over time to make that happen, and to God be the glory. It happened. And tomorrow I'll be going into the house, into the prison with these brothers to build. So pray for me in that interaction. Pray for them. As they've said, pray for them. One of the brothers' name is Jaha, who said, pray for Jaha. Don't forget to pray for Jaha, as well as pray for me for the resources to get my license in place so that I can go back and forth to support our brothers and just do what God is calling for me to do in this season of ministry for Healing Our Land. So love you to life. God loves you as well. Stay tuned. 7 p.m. We'll be having prayer meeting as we do via www.bostonpraiseradio.tv and Pastor Bruce Wall's Facebook